Get ready for the dictation. 5 seconds. Start. Mr. Deputy Chairman, Sir, I would like to compliment the Honorable Finance Minister on having presented an excellent budget. The macroeconomic situation under which the budget has been presented is not an easy one. We are facing the issue of inflation, which is worldwide, though admittedly the degrees vary. This is coupled with the fact that a number of nations in the world are still tackling the economic slowdown or are just emerging from it. Fiscal stimulus packages have been used by many countries to battle the economic slowdown. However, care needs to be taken to ensure that demand is not stimulated to such a degree that demand exceeds supply and create inflationary pressures. What is very welcome is the increased focus on infrastructure. The outlay on infrastructure has been increased by 23% in 2011-12 to rupees 214 crore. To increase the inflow of funds which can be used for infrastructure development, SEBI approved mutual funds can now receive investments from foreign institutional investors. In addition, the ceiling on FII investments into infrastructure bonds has been increased to $40 billion. FIIs can also invest into unlisted bonds with a minimum lock in period of 3 years. In addition, notified infrastructure dedicated debt funds will now attract a withholding tax of 5% as opposed to the current 20%. The income tax deduction on the investment in infrastructure bond continues in order to encourage these kinds of investments. One of India's most valuable assets is its human resource. This can be a source of great advantage to us in the coming years. We have a large percentage of our population in the youth bracket, but they need to be well educated and have vocational skills. It is with this in mind that there is a big increase in the allocation for education, especially primary education. The allocation for secondary and higher education has been increased by 24%. Scholarships to those belonging to SC and ST category has been increased and would benefit lakhs of students. The budget has attempted to increase the efficiency of the segments which are of primary importance for an agrarian economy like India's. Agriculture contributes about 24% of India's GDP, and India is the second largest food producer in the world. There are increased incentives for investment in godowns and cooling warehouses. Infrastructure status has been granted to post harvest storage to enable foreign and increased investment in this sector. Machinery and equipment used in cold storage and warehouses has been extended excise duty exemptions. Due to increased demand for food grain and fruit and vegetables, their effective storage is vital. This would also encourage the food processing industry, which depends a lot on the ability to store perishable produce such as fruits and vegetables, which often end up getting spoiled and rotting in the absence of proper and adequate storage. Another step in this direction is the proposed setting up of food parks. To improve the efficiency of farming, steps have been taken to encourage the procurement of agriculture machinery and micro irrigation by reducing customs duty. Micro irrigation methods like drop irrigation and sprinkler system would be very beneficial where there is need to use water resources effectively in rain-fed and water-scarce regions. The finance minister has also announced that farmers repaying loans on time will get a discount or incentive, making their effective rate of interest lower. This will be of benefit to countless number of farmers. The finance minister has also attempted to improve agricultural credit further by infusing additional credit into NABARD. The wage rates under Manrega has been indexed to the consumer price index for agriculture labor. We have all experienced and seen that subsidies like LPG, kerosene, and fertilizers do not reach where they should despite the best intentions of the government. Therefore, the stated intent of the government to move towards a system of direct and transfer of cash to those targeted for the subsidies in a phased manner is most welcome and laudable. This will also free up resources for use elsewhere by their more efficient use. Healthcare allocation has been increased, which is a very positive step. National Health Insurance Scheme, which benefits poor and marginal workers, has been extended to Manrega workers, in addition to enable the common man to have more money left in his pocket in these times when inflation is a worry. The finance minister has not raised the tax bracket. There have been cuts in excise duty on several items to benefit the common man. The age for qualifying as a senior citizen has been lowered from 65 to 60 and the exemption limit raised from 2.4 to 2.5 lakhs. For citizens over the age of 80, the tax exemption limit has been raised to 5 lakhs. All these measures will help our elderly citizens live better and more honorably. However, service tax has been imposed on hospitals having more than 24 beds and being centrally air conditioned. This will hurt the common man and affect the smallest hospitals, as a hospital of 24 beds is not very large, and in certain weather conditions air conditioning is a necessity. The service tax component will be passed on the patients already affected by inflation. In addition, service tax has been imposed on hotels having a room rate of more than 1000. This will hurt the tourism industry, which has suffered due to the economic downturn. Tourists from the US and Europe have dropped in numbers and are now price sensitive. Major tourist destinations will be affected by this step. One of the very positive steps has been to increase the salaries being paid to Anganwadi workers. This has been doubled for the all categories and will greatly benefit the workers who generally come from a very needy background. I once again congratulate the finance minister on presenting this poor oriented budget. Sir, with these words, I thank you very much. Stop.